Hey, what's up, guys? Got another new video for you. This is Tuned In Sports here. I'm Bryson.
I'm Steve.
And today we're going to be doing a little bit of a video about the NFL, specifically about coaching and just about the Lions and the Eagles specifically, and just, sharing a couple of thoughts about some different things about the teams and just myriad of different topics, I guess. But I think we'll specifically focus on the coaching aspect of it in this video, mostly because the Lions, as of Thanksgiving weekend, actually made a coaching change. They canned Mr. Patricia, as well as Mr. Quinn, yes, and they moved them out of the city. They're no longer on the Lions, and they moved Bevel into the head coaching position from offensive coordinator, and I don't know what they're doing for the GM as of right now. I know they haven't filled the role, but I'm just saying I don't know if they had somebody else take over those duties for the time being or what. Doesn't really matter right now. But it will matter come this off season, and
Yeah, there's, like he said, there's been some changes made in Detroit. I'm happy to see actually that happened. I think in order for this, things to get better, they unfortunately had to go down this path. I was hoping that when Patricia and them were hired, that it was going to change the fortunes of the franchise and. Maybe we will become the Patriots of the NFC, but it went the opposite direction and took a team that was on the on the upward trend and moved them into the downward trend in a hurry. So, with that being said, I don't think it was intentional for them to fail. Obviously, I don't think either one of those guys intentionally wanted to come in there and fail.
Yeah.
I think it just, things didn't work out the way they thought they would. And some people are just better suited to coordinator positions more so than head coaching positions. And I'm guessing that maybe that's where Matt Patricia falls, because he certainly did not turn out to be a great leader of men. And, many of the people that left the organization while he was there didn't have too many nice things to say about him upon leaving. So I can only guess that, in this case, that it was a good move to get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to, if I may, just kind of go over a couple of the possibilities. There's obviously on the coaching side of things, there's too many to talk about. The one that I've heard that's most prominent has been this Robert Saleh from the 49ers. And he's currently filling the defensive coordinator role. And, all signs point to that he's a great fit for Detroit and, what may have you. And I'm, for one, not going to sit here and try to debate it. Defense is important.
Mm-hmm.
And however, we just did have Matt Patricia, who was a defensive coordinator. But yet when he came into Detroit, the defense was ranked like 28th out of the 30 teams.
Yeah, I was going to say defense was a struggle.
Defense was not a staple for them.
No.
So I'm a little hesitant to bring somebody in with a defensive mindset. But with that being said, I know that's a necessity if you want to have a chance to win.
I don't think having a defensive mindset is bad. It's just a defensive mindset and actually perform. I mean, when you have a defensive mindset and you rank 28th out of 32 teams in the NFL, people, that kind of makes you wonder, like, okay, if the thing that you're supposed to specialize in sucks, while you're the coach, what are you really doing?
Right.
Because offense isn't the specialty, but that's essentially what happened. And honestly, I mean, I know that Bevel's not your favorite guy, and even Cooter before him, both of those guys were there under Patricia, right? But I mean, to be honest, I think in some ways, I mean, I would guess if Patricia is a defensive guy, he probably let them kind of do the offensive stuff. He may have had his hand in it, but I don't know how much of that he was really controlling. So in some respects, I mean, like I said, I know Bevel's probably not your favorite person, but I mean, the offense is what's really kept them around. And if that was more Bevel than Patricia, then I mean, he must be doing something right, because defense has been really bad, and that's supposed to be his expertise. You know what I mean? Or maybe it's just that Patricia tried to, get away from what he knows and just do the offense to try to show he was well-rounded, but then in the process kind of lost touch with the defense. I don't know. Could be a couple different things, but yeah. Anyways.
Well, in my opinion, that's why you have coordinators.
Yeah.
Is so that they can, get the game plan going. And
yeah.
We brought this guy in from the Eagles, this Corey Undlin, and he's the defensive coordinator right now, and I cannot say that I'm impressed.
No.
I don't think he's done a very good job. No, I realize that maybe he doesn't have players that maybe he would like in there. But, this defense is underperformed for sure in the 2.5 years that Patricia was coach.
Yeah, for sure.
So, with that being said, not to get away from the what I wanted to talk about. So, I mentioned Robert Saleh. I'm going to mention some other names here, just a few of them that were kind of
jumped out.
Yeah, they kind of made at least were names to note. There's another guy, the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, Eric Bieniemy.
Oh yeah,
his name has been talked about in a lot of coaching positions.
So, yeah, including the Eagles. I read something today that said, hey, if the Eagles were to fire Peterson over the offseason, Bieniemy would be somebody they'd be interested in.
Yeah.
So.
And I think he's going to draw a lot of interest from a lot of teams.
Yeah.
I don't think
Well, and Don says pretty much every video that the Broncos need to fire or demote, what's his name?
Yeah, and bring in Bieniemy.
Yeah, he's constantly saying that.
Yeah.
So.
No, which makes sense. He played college there, so
yeah,
I can understand it.
Yeah.
But Lincoln Riley's on the list, and he's the head coach at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And obviously Oklahoma's known for offense, even prior to when he was coach there.
Yeah.
They've never had problems scoring the ball. However, stopping people has not been the forte. So, plus, I don't know. It's easy to say that, if you look at the guy at Arizona, who's the coach there? What's the name?
The dude from Texas Tech, Kingsbury?
Yeah.
Kingsman?
There's guys that run similar offenses to what Lincoln Riley's running, and he's having success in the NFL. So it is possible.
Cliffberry? What is his name?
Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, that's right. Cliff Kingsbury.
It is possible to have success.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't know if Detroit's probably the right job for him, because I don't know that the personnel matches up with maybe the style of offense that he wants to run. There's a couple other guys on here. Arthur Smith, he's an offensive coordinator from the Titans. There's the head coach at Iowa State, Matt Campbell. Now, he's an interesting one to me. I don't know exactly what his ties would be to the Detroit area, or if there is any. I do know, however, that Iowa State constantly puts a solid product out on the field, and recruiting is king in college football, and I'm sure it's hard to get players to go to Iowa State.
Yeah.
So for him to put a top 20 program out there, and be consistently good every year is worth note.
Yeah.
The one name that I have listed down here that was listed on the list of possible coaching prospects was Urban Meyer. Now, I highly doubt that he would ever consider taking the job. However, if he would, then I would do that in 2 seconds.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean,
I would too.
Yeah, this guy has done nothing but win everywhere he's went.
Yeah.
He's got a track record. Now I realize that college is a big difference than in the pros, because obviously what made him successful in college was the recruiting, which you're not really doing recruiting in the pros, but you are obviously bringing in talent.
You are recruiting free agents. I mean, you got to have a destination place, because otherwise you end up with a situation like Antonio Brown. I'm not playing for the Bills. So it does matter in free agency, but on the whole, no, you're not really recruiting.
No, I mean, he would he would be a long shot, I'm sure, to take this job.
Yeah.
But I would certainly love the opportunity
to find out
if he would be willing to take it.
Yeah.
At
least call him, right?
Yeah. I mean, and my guess is that, it sounds like Robert Saleh is probably like their leading candidate right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking that somebody's going to want him. I mean, there's more than one team looking at him as possible coach. So, there's got to be a reason for it. The guy's probably, but, the big thing is when Sheila Ford Hemp came out, when she released these guys, she said they were going to do a comprehensive search and do the best they could to make a change for the organization for the better.
Mm-hmm.
Which is refreshing to hear. Not that I haven't heard it before from other people before her. I've always felt like the Fords kind of were their own worst enemy. They want fans at the stadium. They want people to like the team and everything, but yet they're not willing to go the extra mile to put a winner on the field.
No.
And you can't tell me out of all the years that they've been a team, they've never had a good coach, they've never had good players, because that's not true. They've had plenty of each, and it just hasn't worked out. And I don't know whether it's just a curse or whatever it is. It's just not good.
But there's one common denominator amongst all the new coaches, new players.
It's been ownership.
Yeah, that's the only common denominator. So.
Most people feel like the ownership needs to go more so than the coaches and the GMs.
Yeah.
And I would be lying if I didn't half agree with that, because that's been the only consistent thing in all the years of losing. And when Sheila Hemp came on the interview the other day, she said that, she can't change the past, which was like the first intelligent thing I've heard a Ford say in many years. And that she can't, she doesn't like the past, is not happy with the way things have went, obviously. At least that's what she's telling people.
Yeah.
She's not happy with the way things have went, and she wants to make a change for the better. She wants the Lions to be a good football team.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first step in the right direction, is actually having an owner that cares about the team being good rather than just having the team.
Yeah.
Let's face it. Every team in the NFL makes money. Everyone.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's the worst team in the league. They're making money.
The Jaguars are doing just fine.
So,
yeah.
The league is set up for you to make money. So that's just the way it works. With that being said, as far as the GM possibilities, there's 3 names that I have down. There's only one name that I think legitimately should be looked at, and that is Louis Riddick. Louis Riddick right now is an ESPN football analyst. He spent years in the NFL. Highly intelligent individual. You listen to him talk on ESPN. The man knows what he's talking about. Very good. He understands football. He understands the biz of it as well. And I think he would be a guy you could bring in and whose heart's going to be in the right place and who's going to try to build a championship team.
Mm-hmm.
If they go elsewhere for this particular thing, I'd be shocked. To me, he should be the first guy called and the last guy interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 other guys. There's 2 other guys. There's an assistant GM from the Colts who's thrown his name into the hat, and then there's a player of player or the what is he? Oh, director of player personnel for the Chiefs is another guy. Obviously, the Chiefs are run very well. They got the best team of football right now. Probably as good as anybody is currently.
Yeah.
And my favorite to win the Super Bowl again.
Yeah.
I just don't see anybody stopping them.
No.
But, so, I mean, something like that's obviously, and if you're working with a quality guy like Andy Reid, I mean, it's hard not to succeed because Andy's done a great job wherever he's been.
Mm-hmm.
So, but, I mean, my favorite out of all those would be Louis Riddick, regardless of the fact that he's never been in the position before. Just because I know what he brings to the table. I know he's highly intelligent. He's respected. And I think he's going to get jobs done. I don't think he's going to be one of these guys that settles for bad play.
Yeah.
And, and if he comes in and he likes this Robert Saleh, because to me, the GM almost has to be hired before the coach is, in my opinion. Because otherwise, the GM's going to always have this like, oh, well, I didn't get a chance to hire the coach. So if it doesn't work out, now it's like a built-in scapegoat.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what happened with Caldwell. It's like the GM didn't have his guy. He wanted his guy and Matt Patricia,
right?
Regardless of the success, they as well as they can say, oh well, we thought they were talking on the radio the other day about how they felt that Caldwell was the guy to get him from point A to point B, which is from not very good to a team that makes the playoffs, but they weren't sure if he could get him from the playoffs to a Super Bowl, which, maybe there's something to be said for that. But at the same time, part of it too was he wanted his guy. He didn't want to have, the markings of the last GM heading his franchise.
No.
So.
No, I would agree. There's like I said, the list is long, coaching wise, and I'm sure they're going to do their due diligence and try to bring in the right guy. At least that's what I would hope would happen.
And hopefully they get the GM figured out first, and then that way that guy. But then again, I mean, if they take forever with the GM, then some of the coaches might be off the market. So I mean, I would hope that they fired Patricia and Quinn this early with the intent on. We're going to start looking right now.
No, and that's what they said they were going to do. They said that, because they're interviewing a ton of people for all these positions. And, my only hope is that they don't decide to go down the road of having one guy be the coach and the GM. I never think that's a recipe for, victory. I think it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
And it just never seems to work out. So
yeah,
I'm hoping Lions organization, if you're listening to this, please hire for both positions. Do not hire one guy to tackle both. And if you are going to hire one guy to tackle both, let's call Bill Belichick up now before he retires and say, why don't you come on down to Detroit and spend a few years before you leave?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would think from like the coaching perspective, and I mean, I guess the GM too, but specifically for the coach of the Lions, I feel very strongly about, like Dad said. I mean, I think you got to start with ownership and say if they're not willing to put the time and the money into making the team work, then it doesn't really matter. Because we've seen, I mean, I keep using this example, but just look at the Dolphins. I mean, they were one of the worst teams going absolutely nowhere a year ago. And now this year, I mean, I'm not saying that they've gone to a complete hero, but they are much improved, and they're going to be probably in the playoffs, contending for. I don't think anybody's beating the Chiefs, and I don't necessarily see them making it far in the playoffs just because there's a lot of good teams in the AFC. But I'm just saying, last year, playoffs wasn't anywhere near the talk. And in an offseason, they made a run immediately. And they've got a quarterback for the future, or at least hopefully. I mean, I know Tua played a couple games, and I guess maybe they weren't too impressed with him. And he's not starting now. It's Fitzpatrick again.
Well,
so
that's because he's hurt, though.
Oh, okay.
Tua was out.
Okay. Well,
he got injured.
Either way, hopefully he works out, but injuries are a big thing with him, so we'll see. But regardless, I'm just saying, they put money, time, and effort into getting the team better, and in a season, they're completely different. Mm-hmm. So that just tells you what can happen. And that's just in one season. And this season's goal was not, hey, we're going to win a Super Bowl this year, otherwise it's a bust. It's let's just bring in some players here and see what we can make happen. And they've done a fantastic job. One of the better teams right now. So with that said, there's no reason that the Lions can't do the same thing. And especially, I'm looking at Bob Quinn, looking at Patricia and these other guys. If the Dolphins can go from 0 to hero like that, when they had a hell of a lot less to work with than the Lions do right now in terms of talent and stuff, I'm looking at you saying, what are you doing? That's just putrid. So as far as it goes, thank God they got rid of those guys. Like Dad said, I'll be the first to say I think it's an ownership problem more so than talent. And no matter who the coach is, with some exceptions, no matter who the coach is, if the ownership isn't going to back them and do what they need to do to make them relevant, it's not going to make a difference. I do believe there's some exceptions. He said Urban Meyer. If that was to happen, I'm looking at this team in a whole new light. And I honestly only think there's a couple of people that could come in there. I think there's a lot of people that could come in there and do good things. But I think there's only a couple of people that could come in there and overnight change the potential of the future for the team. And I definitely think Urban Meyer would be one of those names. But again, a lot of those names that I think would do that, I just don't know why they would want to go there, unless they had something. Again, like a Jim Harbaugh. I think he would be a great signing for them. Do I think that he would be a complete game changer? I don't know. I think he would be a great step in the right direction, and I think he'd have them into the solid territory. I don't know if he would have that team in the Super Bowl just because of him. I don't know. Again, that gets back to ownership. But he'd definitely be a great signing. But in terms of guys that could come in there and immediately be a huge difference, I think Urban Meyer would be a big one. Saleh and some of these other guys, I don't know. I think they would be good, potentially better than good. But I don't know if they're going to come in there and really change the stigma of the team. I really think if you want to change things, you need to get somebody big in there. And again, I just don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to put the money in to do it.
It depends, too, on who the GM's going to be. Because, that's a big piece of it.
Yeah, exactly. But, I really think that if for a team with that kind of a history, I guess you would say, of just losing, it's going to take more than just, oh, yeah, we got this guy that seems to have some promise coming off of the Niners or something. It's going to take a proven somebody that can come in there and just demand respect and take it over and push it. And I don't think they're far away. So that's why I say I think the right person could have an impact really quick, because the talent is on the roster, or at least it's been on it. I feel like they've lost some people, and their replacements haven't been, for the most part, up to par. While Patricia and Quinn were in there, I feel like they let a lot of people go and brought in some people that didn't exactly fill the shoes. Like Trufant, for instance. No. But that's besides the point, though. The point is, I think they're really going to need a big somebody. And I think if they get the big somebody who can come in there and say, just like What's-Her-Nut said, the owner or whatever said, I can't do anything about the past. And I think you want to have somebody with that mindset at the coach and at the GM, or somebody like Louis Riddick or something who understands that, hey, this is a team that's, been around for a long time, had little to no success, and they deserve better. And I'm going to give them it. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, hopefully, I think that there could be a lot of moves that they could potentially make. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of names on this list, especially for the coach. I mean, I'm not familiar with really any of those GM people. I do know Louis Riddick, but I'm just saying, especially at the coach, I'm not familiar with a lot of those names. And honestly, I think a lot of them could end up just being lateral moves. Just people that kind of come in and maybe improve the team a little bit, or just kind of keep it where it's at. I don't see a lot of people on that list that are, I believe, could take the team. I mean, again, I'm not saying that nobody on that list is maybe deserving of a shot. There definitely are. I think everybody on the list probably, do they deserve a chance? Sure. But I don't know if they're going to be the difference is the thing. And like he said, what the owner said, I mean, it sounds great. It's not anything you haven't heard before, but I think it's about time that somebody comes in there and takes ownership. I really think that's the first thing. If the ownership really wants to change and get it right, the first thing that the ownership needs to do is take ownership.
No, is stand out of the way.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is
that's what has to happen.
What I'm saying is, if they really want to help, yes, they need to get out of the way and let the people know what they're doing, do it, and just be the pocketbook. But what I'm saying is I think that they need to take a little ownership and say, hey, we have not been doing a good job, and that falls on us. It falls at our feet. And then maybe some people will start to say, hey, okay, maybe they're trying something. But in the past, it's always seemed like, oh, well, we just haven't had the right combination of coaches and GMs and stuff. It seems like, it's everybody else's fault except for their own. But I think if they want to stay in charge and keep it going and actually change things, I think that starts with taking some ownership and saying, you know what, we've done a crappy job over the years. And
well, their record speaks for itself.
Yeah, but I mean, no, I know, but I mean, they'll be the first ones to push the blame. And I think if they want to win back somebody like yourself that thinks that they, it's not going to change as long as they're up there, something like that needs to be said to even have a chance, because otherwise I just think it's going to be
more of the same.
More of the same. But hopefully it's not. I mean, I definitely don't want it to be the case. But
no, I mean, I'm optimistic that, they're going to put a little more effort into getting somebody in there that, wants to win. And I don't think for a second that Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia came in there with the idea of taking this team from good to bad.
No, I don't think so either.
I mean, I think Bob Quinn probably came in there and thought, I can make this, the New England Patriots of the NFC. And, he brought in a guy, Patricia, who worked under Belichick, probably thought this should work. He understands what's going on.
And they constantly brought in Patriot players, ex-Patriot players, so that's exactly what he wanted to do, was make it the Patriots of the NFC.
I mean, he was trying to build something.
But for one reason or another, it just didn't happen.
Unfortunately, it didn't work.
Yep.
And I don't think either one of those guys are bad guys. Listening to them talk on interviews and stuff, they both seem like pretty decent guys.
Yeah.
Pretty reasonable people. But sometimes the task is just too monumental. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, unfortunately, in Detroit's case, there's a lot of bad history they have to deal with. Mm-hmm. And comparisons to, when you're always at the bottom, it's like, it's not going to take a whole lot to please the fans.
No.
No. I mean, it's not. I mean, you start putting teams in the playoffs every year, you're going to get fans like crazy. And the Lions are, a likable team.
For that reason.
I mean, I think people would actually root for Detroit. I think a lot of people like the colors and the color scheme and their helmets and the uniforms are pretty cool looking.
Yeah,
I think they could have quite a few fans.
Yeah.
If they started winning games. And, I don't know. I mean, there's going to be a lot of changes coming up, though.
And there's a lot of ex-Lions players that really would love to see them do something because, for the most part, a lot of them didn't ever get to see it themselves.
No, a lot of them poured a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that organization for nothing.
Yeah.
But, it's just one of those things where the fans are fed up with, watching horrible product. Yeah. I mean, if the Ford Motor Company put out cars as bad as their football teams have been, they wouldn't be in business.
Yeah.
True. They wouldn't. There's no way you can tell me that you're going to put up with cars being as bad as this football team has been. Because this team right here plays like the Ford Pinto. Which went away years ago, and for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been legitimately just a horrible product, Mm-hmm. And I'm not suggesting for a second that they've never had any talent, because they have.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, they got the Hall of Fame accolades to prove it. They have quite a few guys.
I just don't understand, how you can consistently put out product like this and, not do anything about it. I mean, the Fords understand business quite well. Yeah. Obviously.
Well, I think part of the problem is that because they understand business so well, they don't really need to worry about it because they do such a great job with marketing and stuff for their brand or whatever that there's not really any pressure on them to succeed because if they end up losing it or whatever, whatever. One less thing to worry about. They've got money, they got finances, they've got success to fall back on. No. They don't need the Lions. You know what I mean?
No, but this is my whole point about why I was saying before. If you're bad for 5 years in a row, if you pick within the top 10 picks of the draft 5 years in a row, you need to be dinged. Mm-hmm. You need to start hitting people where it hurts. Because you can sit there and say, "Oh, it doesn't hurt." You start docking on money, like you charge them $5 million. After 5 years, if you went 5 straight years top 5 in the draft, we're taking $5 million from you. Next year it's doubling to 10.
Yeah, or double you step down.
Double to 20, double to 40, double to 80, double to 160. If it keeps continuing, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to get the point across that this is not something where you can just screw the fans over for years and years and years. Like, if you're going to be willing to take a team ownership, then be willing to put a product on the field. Otherwise, don't get involved. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, it allows teams like Detroit and these other teams that are predominantly shit to sit at the bottom and never have any consequences.
Yep. Exactly.
And allow the Fords to sit there and just smile and laugh as the team just continues to lose. And fans continue to pour money into it, and buying equipment or buying jerseys and hats and shirts and, what may have you with Lions logos and people paying, season ticket prices and all this stuff. Nobody's buying that stuff because they want a loser.
No.
They want to be proud of their team and be proud of what they are. Well, now's the time to change all this and get it right so that you can actually make people proud. Have fans wear that stuff with pride. Don't just sit there and screw the fans yet again.
Yeah.
And put another piece of shit product out there and expect people to show up, expect people to pay the prices you're going to charge at the concessions.
Yeah.
And all this, astronomical crap that takes place when they're sitting there just cash rolling in the dough. Because the TV contracts are crazy amount of money, and there's just, to me, there needs to be pressure put on by the league for you to be competitive.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, it's ridiculous that they're allowed to just run this clown show and have a situation where you have a team that's moving in on 60 plus years of nothing.
Right. You have a team that's been in the league for the Lions were one of the first teams in the league. And the fact that they never made it to a Super Bowl as of yet is just flat ridiculous.
And then you compile that with the fact that most years they weren't even close. I mean, they had many years there where it wasn't even a playoff team. It was like
most years. Most years are not playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean...
Like this year. I mean, a lot of years were just like this. With Kitna and Harrington and, well, the quarterback list goes on with the Lions. But, I mean, I'm just saying, most years this has been exactly the case where you're just like, what the hell are we doing? And something needs to be done. I mean, it's just... I think it's frustrating from a fan standpoint, but it's also frustrating because I really think it could only benefit the NFL to do something like that, and that way you don't just have a couple of teams that are always dominant and then a couple of teams that are always nothing. I mean, it's only going to make the league more competitive to do something, to give the incentive when you have a team like the Jets, especially also, there's another great example. What have they done in the last 10 years? Just a cycling door of crap.
And then when you figure that if you've been in the top 5 picks, which means you're supposed to be getting a pretty damn good player in those picks, and then you don't get better and you're still shitty, that tells me that you're intentionally bombing the draft.
Yep.
Or you're trying to make sure that it doesn't work out.
Yeah, and then you see players like the Chiefs or some of these teams or even the Steelers. Everybody they draft is a big player in this league. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like they ever whiff. There's certain teams, Certain teams, you see they draft somebody, you're going to be seeing that name for years to come. But then, you got the Jets and some of these, it's like, good Lord, what are you doing? And I mean, more recently, especially the Jets, because they've been exactly that. Top 5, maybe even top 3 pick perennially. They haven't even come close to being relevant. And it just, I mean, the Lions, they've at least put some competitive teams on the field. I mean, the last 2 years weren't too good, but before that, they had 8 wins, 7 wins, a couple teams in the playoffs. I mean, they've been a little bit better more recently, but still, they had many years where they were the Jets. Yep. It was just year to year of, let's see who we draft this year, because the football team didn't give us anything to get excited about. It was just really, really bad. And hopefully it changes with this owner and this GM and this coach and whatever. I mean, something needs to be done.
Something needs to change at the top in order for this to work.
Yep.
The mindset cannot be what it's been.
No.
And this guy, Rod Wood, who's above the GM, he's like president or something of football operations or whatever. This guy has said on many occasions, I'm not a football guy. Well, that's the first fucking problem. The fact that you're not a football guy tells me that you're not going to look out for the best interests of football.
You're going to do what's best for the business standpoint.
You're looking out for anything but the football side.
Yeah.
You're looking out for where's my money? I want to make sure I'm getting my paycheck.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm getting paid correctly.
Yeah, where's
your... I'll do whatever that takes to make sure that happens.
Yeah, where's your inkling of caring?
Where's your allegiance lie?
Yeah. Where's your motivation to make sure the team performs at a high level?
No,
if you're not a football guy, this is just another job for you then.
Right.
Essentially.
I mean, and this is what the problem is. I mean, the Fords are like, oh yeah, and then to hear Sheila Hemp talk the other day, there's no way. I mean, there's no intentions of letting him go at all.
Yeah.
She's work. I'm gonna be working hand in hand with Rod. We're gonna, do this, that, and the other. And I mean, in my opinion, Rod's one of the problems. Yeah, he may be making your bottom line look good, but he's not making the Lions look good. He's making the Lions look like a second-rate organization.
Yeah,
and he got the Lions playing like the Ford Pinto drove, Buff.
He's got the Lions the books looking good, but it doesn't matter on the field.
No, I mean the books can look as great as they want them to.
The tax return
that is not what this football team should be about. It's not about making your books look great.
Yeah.
It's about putting product on the field, giving your fans something to worry about and be happy about, and not sit there and wear bags to the football games because they don't want to show their faces on TV.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's ridiculous, and it's really inexcusable too. And I mean, at the end of the day, it just comes down to, like he said, where do your allegiances lie? What really matters? And what it should be is, this is what really matters, is putting a winning product out there, because these guys are getting paid for that job. Right. And so as a result of that, if you're not doing your job, which is making a winning football team, then you need to go. You got to go.
I agree.
And that shouldn't just go for the coaches. And it shouldn't mean that when you finally get a coach that's winning, you get rid of him because, oh, well, he's not the guy that I want in there. Well, guess what? He's the guy that's actually making the Lions the most consistent that they've been in years, and not consistently sucking, which is what it had been. So it's like, I mean, to me, that just shouts ego problems, people caring more about doing things their way than what is going to be best for the team. And at the end of the day, it just screams, you're in trouble. And the record has gone along with supporting that statement.
Yeah.
That's exact.
I mean, and to sit there and talk about what a great job Rod Wood's done, fuck Rod Wood. I mean, he doesn't know fucking nothing about football.
Yeah.
And that's not the direction that this organization needs. We need somebody that cares about this organization winning. Not just, how can we get more people in the stands and get more concession money?
Yeah.
And how can we,
Well, and the frustrating thing is, too, is that if you put a winning product out there, that stuff will come. It's like, I got a solution for you. Instead of trying to find ways to suck and still get people to show up, how about you just win?
Yeah.
How about you just win? It'll save you money.
Yeah,
time and effort.
And it's going to put a lot more sales retail-wise in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly. Because nobody wants to go out and buy a jersey. I mean, nobody wants to go out there and buy merchandise for a team that can't field more than 3 wins.
No.
I mean...
it's a complete joke.
Yeah.
And I just look at the situation, and I'm amazed at, how they think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, the way they think, I don't know how the fuck their car business does so well. I really don't.
Well, let's just put it this way. If they put as much effort into the success of the team as they do in their car business, maybe you would. Maybe they would be a desirable place and a consistently great team. But it's got to be one thing or another. Either they're not putting in the effort, or they're getting lucky with their car business. And I'm going to say, I don't think they're getting lucky with their car business. I think they know what they're doing. So that leads me to believe they're just not putting in the effort on the football side. No. So hopefully that changes. And if it doesn't, hopefully they make a change and say, we're going to do right by the team and sell it. Because that's, at the end of the day, I think that's what it's going to come down to, is they need to say, you know what? We want, maybe the best way for us to make sure that you guys get a winning product out here is to hand off the team to somebody else, and maybe be a partner or something if they still want to be involved and say, we're going to handle the business side of it. Because obviously they've done a great job of that because they get fans in there nonstop. I mean, I guess they've done a great job of that. Otherwise, if it was a loss for them, they would have sold it already. You know what I mean? If they weren't making money. So obviously they're doing okay from a business standpoint, but maybe they need to either just give it off completely, or if by some reasoning they want to stay involved, they say, we're going to bring in a partner that's going to handle all the football aspect of it and get involved from that, and we're just going to handle the books. Kind of like they do on Bar Rescue. You know what I mean? We're going to have the floor manager, and then we're going to have the guy in the office handling the finances. Maybe that's what the Lions need to do. Yep. Have the guy that's strictly there to do things that make sense from a football perspective, and then have the guys that are just there to put money where the mouth is. Maybe that's what needs to happen. I don't know. If they want to stay involved, that's what I'm saying. But if, by my money, they should just say, we're going to hand it to somebody else, hopefully get a winner in here for you guys, and call it good. Because Ford is doing well enough. They don't need more money. You know, what are they? What's more, another paycheck for them? They're doing just fine on just the Ford stuff. They don't need the money from the Lions. No. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and transition into the Eagles. We won't spend as much time on the Eagles as we did on the Lions. But, you know, this is something that I wanted to talk about with the Eagles. You know, it's kind of funny that we were talking about how with the Lions, we really think it's an ownership issue and that the owners just don't care about making the team relevant and stuff like that. And it starts up top and stuff like that. You know, when we're getting into the Eagles, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I believe the owner's name is Greg Laurie or Laurie. I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah. I think it's Laurie. You know, I mean, I feel like a lot of times with the Eagles, at least as of recent, I don't feel like it's a situation where they're not making an effort to get better. I really do feel like they're a team that, if you look at the moves that they've made, have made, and are making, a lot of times I've been fully on board with it. You know, I mean, some guys like, for instance, Jordan Howard, what's his nuts, also from the Dolphins, the big guy that they had there, can't think of his name, but the running back, whatever his name was, and then, you know, with him they brought in LeGarrette Blount too, but they had in that running back from the Dolphins that came in there, and then, you know, bringing Deshaun Jackson back and bringing in Alshon Jeffrey from the Bears. I mean, and even going back farther than that, bringing in DeMarco Murray from the Cowboys. You know, at the time, I was like, hell yeah! We know exactly what this guy's capable of. We watched him run it down our freaking throats for game after game after game on the Cowboys. So, I mean, and Darius Slay. There's been a lot of moves, signings. Michael Bennett, the year we won the Super Bowl, or shortly thereafter. Another one. I mean, I don't feel like this is an ownership that does not care about winning. No, I really feel like they're an ownership that does care about winning and wants to win, but just haven't gotten it figured out. Had a few breaks, hit bad breaks here and there, and I just think that I don't know. I don't think it's them. You know, I heard some people talking about Howie Roseman, who I believe is the president of football operations. I might be wrong on that, but I know he's in the execs. I think he's the president of the football operations. You know, I've heard a lot of people calling for his job, Eagles fans, and a lot of people upset with him. But again, I mean, I'm going to say, I don't think it's an ownership issue. I don't think it's the executives' issue. I mean, when you got as many injuries and get hit with the bugs like we have, I don't feel like they're just stagnant in free agency. I don't feel like they're letting people walk away for free. I don't feel like they aren't putting a product on the field to compete. I feel like they're doing these things. I just feel like they're not putting their money with the right people, maybe, and bringing people in that just don't work out. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure, but Jay Ajayi. That's the guy that I was thinking of from the Dolphins. I mean, he was, again, another signing where you look at it and you say, wow, that's awesome that we got him in there. But another guy that didn't really pan out for the team and spent a lot of time injured too. So that didn't help matters. But I'm just saying, I mean, I don't feel like it's an ownership issue or execs issue. I feel like they're making moves. They're trying to get better. They're doing things that would suggest they want to win. It's just not working out. And where that starts and stops for me is with the head coach. And really what it comes down to for me especially is Dad said earlier, when it comes to the Lions, he doesn't want to see a guy take over the GM and the head coaching position. And for me, if we want to keep Peterson, I don't want to see him running the offense and being the head coach because the offense is not good. I feel like he doesn't have the pulse of what the offense needs to do, what it needs to be, and how they need to work it. I mean, we've had players in there. Golden Tate, Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, Aguilar, Ertz, Dallas Goedert, Trey Burton. We've had players. The list goes on with, and then that's just the wide receivers. You get into running backs, I already listed a few. Jordan Howard, LeGarrette Blount, the guy we have now, Miles Sanders. We've had players. In defense, we've had tons of players and tons of signings as well. But I just feel like something's not working, and I really think it comes down to the head coach at this point. I know he did a great job getting us to the Super Bowl that year, but I don't know. I don't know what's wrong at this point because I feel like the ownership is doing their part. We should be winning. You look at our team, you look at our roster. We should be winning, and we're not. Yeah. We're a joke right now, and somebody needs to be held accountable. And I don't think it's Howie Roseman, because at the end of the day, when we started this season, there was people talking about Eagles being a Super Bowl contender this year. Yeah. We're looking at the same roster. We didn't make any changes in free agent or like at the trade deadline and stuff. We didn't do anything. So we're looking at the same roster that everybody was hyped about 3 months ago. This isn't a different team. It's the same one. Yep. And coming into the season, it was nothing but praise. But we're not winning. We're not doing anything such. We're getting laughed at and ran out of the building some weeks. Yep. And that's on coaching.
No, I agree. I think whatever words or whatever the coach was doing in the year they won the Super Bowl, that is worn off. And I don't think what he's coaching now is getting through to the players or they don't really care about what he's saying.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like a total situation where he's got too much on his plate. He's trying to handle play calling and trying to be the head coach of this football team. And it's too much work to try to worry about scheming offense and then also try to worry about making sure special teams is set up right and making sure the defense is rolling the way they should.
Yeah.
And all this, I mean, it's just too much work for one person to handle. Especially in the situation with this where they've had so many injuries that, you're looking at new people in different spots all the time. I know the rotation on the offensive line has been pathetic. There's been guys probably played every position on the line outside of maybe the center, and it's just been very difficult, as a whole to make progress when you got somebody starting in a new position every week.
Yeah. Yeah, there is something to be said for that.
No, and Carson Wentz is under fire, and I'll be honest, I've been one of the biggest, bashers of him this year, partially because I feel like a lot of the mistakes that are being made are due to him keeping the ball too long, and I don't know whether sometimes you just have bad years.
Yeah.
Where you're not throwing the ball quite as accurately as you did the year before, or the timing with the receivers isn't good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he there's definitely something to be said for him deserving some blame. But again, there's a lot of teams where that you don't necessarily have to have a great quarterback to have success.
No, you just need a game manager.
Yeah.
And everything's predicated on, the teams that do that well have one thing in common. They usually have very good defenses.
Mm-hmm.
If you have good defense, then you can have a game manager kind of run your team.
Yeah, and the Eagles have a very good defense generally.
So, it's just one of those things. I think the head coach is probably an area that probably needs to be changed.
Yeah.
There's no way anybody's going to tell me that the ownership of that team is lacking, momentum or wanting to do things the right way. Because that's why everybody that ever becomes a free agent, they're the first team you hear about. They're going to be talking to them.
Yeah, yeah, and I've been reading a lot lately about people saying, "Oh well, since in the last 5 years, the Eagles have the last offensive weapon that the Eagles have drafted or something was Carson Wentz in the last handful of years." First of all, we drafted Jalen Reagor this year, as well as last year we drafted Miles Sanders. I don't even understand that stat anyway. But if that is a stat, keep in mind, we've made moves in free agency. So if we haven't done that, well, we got Alshon Jeffrey through a trade. Deshaun Jackson back in free agency. We got Golden Tate in a trade. Rashad Matthews was re-signed in free agency. Jay Ajayi in a trade. LeGarrette Blount, free agency. A lot of Jordan Howard, trade. We've gotten people through other routes. So to sit here and say, oh, well, they haven't been paying enough attention to the offense. Well, yeah, maybe in the draft, but it's not like they haven't addressed it in other areas.
Yep.
So I think that's a load of horse crap. That's taking something and trying to focus on it to place the blame on people when the reality of the situation is that's only a part of the truth. Yes, they haven't focused enough on offense in the draft, maybe. But to say that they are just ignoring it and not bringing in weapons or anything like that is pathetic. I'm tired of hearing about that. Yeah. That's just so frustrating. That's putting the blame on the wrong people. You can say maybe that they're putting their efforts in the wrong people, maybe not focusing on people that have a history of injury struggles. That would be a fair assessment because they have brought in a fair number of people that have a history of getting hurt.
Right.
Which is part of the reason they were available, and the teams were willing to get rid of them is because they have a history of injuries. So if you want to say that, yes. But to say that they just don't care about putting weapons on the offense, I'm sorry to say, the offense has plenty of weapons right now. So again, I'm in agreement with Dad. I almost kind of think that he just needs to go, but I would not be opposed to saying we're going to give you another year as the head coach, and we're going to bring in an offensive coordinator to run the offense, and you just do the head coach and see if that makes a difference. If you're still looking at the same team next year, see ya. I'm not a huge fan of that idea. I'd rather just move him out and fill both spots. Partly because I feel like there's guys out there that could come in and take this team over. You know, I even heard, I read something, and I'm not saying it's a rumor. I'm just saying I read something about should the Eagles get rid of him, like I said, and look at Eric Bieniemy from the Chiefs. And again, I'm not saying that's a rumor that they're going to do that or they've been in talks with him or anything. I'm just saying that's something that was listed as should the Eagles do this. And I think probably, yes. Because at some point, we've had talent. Yes, we've had injuries, but so do other teams. And now, especially right now, we've got a lot of the people that have been injured back. I mean, this week we're going to get Zach Ertz is coming back from injury this week. Yeah. So he'll be available for the game. So we have, outside of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, oh man, he's a big difference maker. Dude catches one ball a game. I mean, who the hell cares? I don't understand why such a big deal is made about him. I'm not impressed at all. So anyway, outside of him, we've got basically everybody back. And Deshaun Jackson, he's not playing either, but he's played like 5 games in the last 2 seasons combined. Right. So it's not like we're not used to him not being available. But the rest of the guys is more than enough. I guarantee you, if I played with this team on Madden, I'd have them doing things. They'd be a lot better than 4-7-1 or whatever the hell their crummy record is right now. I'd have them doing stuff. Yeah. So it's just, the weapons and stuff, I don't think that's the issue. Our defense can be very good. Do we have some things that could be improved? Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. But at the end of the day, when the offense can't put up more than 17 points, good luck. I don't care who you are. Good luck with that one. Yeah. The offense is that bad that we've scored 17 points in 3 straight games and lost. No surprise. But the fact that we only lost by 7 or less in both of the last 2, that tells you something right there. Yeah. We only could score 17 points, and some of that wasn't even because of the offense. It was just because of penalties or where we started with the ball. Yeah. And we've only lost by 6-7 points twice, and then 10 points to the Giants, but that was even closer than that. I mean, it was, like I said in the last review, it was a last-minute score, pretty much, while they were trying to do something. So it's not as if we've been just blown off the field. I mean, really, outside of the Rams game, we've been close. We had a chance in just about every game. Yeah. But it's just when the offense is this bad, and again, I'm not saying that it's all Doug Peterson, because Carson Wentz deserves some accountability. But what I will say is in a lot of games I've watched, I've not been impressed by the play calling whatsoever. So, like I said, he either needs to be removed and refill 2 spots, or say, you can stay head coach, but we're bringing in an offensive coordinator and giving you another year. And then saying, kind of like the Lions did with with Patricia, say, this year, if we don't see some serious improvements, even tell him, you can bring in whoever you want. We'll leave it up to you to pick your offensive coordinator. You know what I mean? Say the reins are all yours here. Bring in whatever offensive coordinator you want. It's completely up to you. But if we don't see improvement, you're gone. I would love to hear them do that, because this is just unacceptable the way that it is right now. Yeah. And I don't want to. It's not the ownership's fault. They're putting talent on the roster. They are putting talent out there. I mean, in some respects, they can't do anything about guys getting hurt. No. I mean, just because, again, kind of like we've talked about with the Lions in the past, even though things haven't worked out, doesn't necessarily mean that they haven't ever tried. You know what I mean? The Eagles have made a lot of moves and signed a lot of people and done things that unfortunately just haven't worked out. But that doesn't mean that at the time I didn't think that they were doing good things.
Yep.
I mean, I loved when we brought in Golden Tate and some of these guys. Even re-signing Deshaun Jackson 2 years ago, or a year ago. I was all for it. I was like, boy, if he could be just maybe a quarter less of the player he was when we had him the first time, he's going to be a great impact player on this team. He's been hurt.
Yep.
There's not anything you can do about that.
No, I agree.
And I understand as a fan how frustrating it is to just lose and then hear people talk about injuries and stuff. And I get, wanting to put the blame somewhere. I completely understand. But you got to remember, I mean, again, with a lot of these signings, I guarantee you I'm not the only one that thought that they were good moves when it happened.
No.
So I think it's a little, I don't know if hypocritical is the right word, but to sit there and blame the owners for some of this stuff when you probably are in the same camp as me, where I was for the moves, a lot of them. I was all for getting Golden Tate. I was like, hell yeah, bring him on over. I couldn't wait. He didn't work out, but I was excited as punch when we brought him on the roster.
He really wasn't a bad player when he was there.
No,
I mean he did a good
no.
job.
I mean he was a good player, but I mean they just didn't use him very well. He didn't fit the system. So and that goes back to coaching in some respects. You couldn't find a way to get that guy more involved in the offense. That's on you. His talent speaks for itself.
Yeah.
So, whatever. But anyway, I think that's probably long enough for this video. I mean, we just love talking about football, so we ramble a little bit sometimes. But really, there was a lot of stuff to talk about, especially where the Lions were concerned. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And we'll see what happens with the Lions head coaching position and GM. If anything comes out about either of those spots, we'll be on here making a video talking about it. But until then, stay safe. And I'm
Happy
Bryson.
Holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays too. I'm Bryson.
I'm Steve.
See you guys in the next video.